Commander, the cubs are riding the cleaning bots, and we can't shut them down. Zilax's primary manipulator froze halfway to his morning nutrition supplement. What do you mean riding? Sir, the automated cleaning units in Section 7 have been compromised. Unauthorized life forms detected. Breeding protocol integrity is... The security officer's voice cracked. Sir, the 40 billion credit conservation program may be contaminated. Zilax knocked over his drink, scrambling to the command console. The Crithian cubs, the last genetic hope for a species teetering on extinction, were in danger. 3 cycles of careful genetic planning, 2 years of council oversight, months of sterile environmental controls. Pull up live feed, now. The screen flickered to life, and Zilax's secondary heart stopped. Section 7 looked like chaos. All 6 cleaning bots were zigzagging across the containment floor at speeds they weren't designed to achieve. And on top of each one sat a Crithian cub, tiny claws gripping the sensor arrays, mouths open in what the translation matrix unhelpfully labeled as joyful vocalizations. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the human. Emma Johnson, their new wildlife handler from Earth. Sitting cross-legged in the corner, completely unconcerned, laughing so hard she had tears running down her face. Get me a security team to Section 7 immediately. Zilax was already running. And someone explained to me how a human modified our automated systems without triggering a single alarm. Sir, the modifications appear to have been made during the night cycle. The bots are operating at 140% normal efficiency while simultaneously what? Playing with the cubs, sir. Zilax burst through the containment airlock. The scene was somehow worse in person. The cubs, previously lethargic, barely moving, showing zero interest in their carefully designed enrichment protocols, were chasing the bots with an energy the xenobiology team had declared impossible for captive specimens. Emma Johnson! Zilax's voice echoed with every ounce of command authority he possessed. Step away from the subjects immediately. Emma looked up, wiping her eyes. Oh, hey, Commander. You gotta see this. Watch what happens when I activate obstacle mode. She tapped something on her personal data pad. One of the cleaning bots suddenly pivoted, and the cub on top let out a sound of pure delight as it adjusted its balance. The bot weaved around the environmental enrichment structures the cubs had ignored for weeks, while the cub held on, clearly having the time of its young life. What have you done? Zilax whispered. These animals are irreplaceable. The breeding protocols? We're boring them to death, Emma said, standing up and brushing fur off her uniform. Come on, Commander. Look at them. When's the last time you saw this much activity in here? That's not the point. You can't just... You modified station equipment without authorization. You introduced unpredictable variables into a controlled environment. You've compromised sterile protocols. Emma raised an eyebrow. I made them toys, and honestly, they seem pretty happy about it. One of the cubs chose that moment to tumble off its bot, roll twice, and immediately scramble after it again with single-minded determination. Happy? Zilax felt his crest flatten in distress. This is a disaster. Do you have any idea what the council will say? What the xenobiology director will... His comm unit erupted with overlapping voices. Containment breach in Section 7. Unauthorized AI modifications detected. Requesting immediate quarantine. Cubs displaying unprecedented behavioral. Emma sighed and reached down to scoop up one of the approaching cubs. It immediately tried to climb her arm, chirping insistently. Yeah, buddy, I know. Your ride's gonna be interrupted because the grown-ups are freaking out. She looked at Zelax. So, are you going to shut down their playground? Or can we talk about why this is actually the best thing that's happened to these little guys since they got here? Kyldra swept into Section 7 like a biological emergency in motion, medical scanner already active, her crest fully extended in alarm. Where are the injured subjects? I was told. She stopped dead. The cubs weren't injured. They were playing what appeared to be a game of chase with the cleaning bots, occasionally pouncing on one, riding it for several meters, then jumping off to chase another. Their vital signs, displayed on her scanner, were better than any readings in their entire captivity records. This is the emergency? Kyeldra's voice climbed an octave. They're bonded with unauthorized technology. See? Emma gestured at the cubs. They're fine. Better than fine, actually. Fine? Zilax's translator struggled with his tone. Station Protocol 447B explicitly forbids any non-approved creature interaction. You've introduced unpredictable variables into a breeding program that took 3 cycles to establish. Emma crossed her arms. They were bored, so I made them toys. Is that really worth a station-wide alert? You don't understand. These creatures are irreplaceable. Then maybe they needed someone who treats them like kids instead of experiments. The airlock hissed open again. Engineering Chief R. Hill entered with 3 technicians, all carrying diagnostic equipment. He moved directly to the nearest cleaning bot, which was currently being stalked by 2 cubs working in coordination, behavior the xenobiology reports had listed as unlikely to develop in captivity. Rahil's facial chromatophores flickered through confusion colors. Commander, I need to understand what I'm looking at. These units are operating outside their design parameters. The human modified them, Kyldra said, her scanner still recording the cubs' unprecedented activity levels. Modified how? I see no evidence of physical alterations. Emma shrugged. I just reprogrammed them a little during night shift. Changed some movement algorithms, added response protocols, tweaked the... You reprogrammed autonomous station equipment? Rahil's chromatophores went solid orange. That requires engineering clearance level 6. Does it? The access panel didn't ask for credentials. Because it's biometrically locked to engineering personnel only. Rahil connected his diagnostic tool to the nearest bot. His chromatophores cycled through colors so fast they almost strobed. This is impossible. What's impossible? Zilax demanded. These modifications. Rahil's manipulators trembled as he scrolled through data. The base code has been rewritten to incorporate adaptive learning matrices. The bots are responding to emotional cues from the cubs, anticipating their behavior, adjusting speed and movement patterns based on physiological feedback. This would require understanding our quantum neural networking architecture at a level that takes our engineers years to achieve. Emma tilted her head. I mean, the documentation was pretty clear once I translated it. You guys overcomplicate things. Overcomplicate? Rahil looked like his chromatophores might short-circuit. You've created a responsive AI system that's reading biological feedback in real time and generating appropriate entertainment responses. I created toys that pay attention to whether the kids are having fun or getting tired. That's just basic. Security Chief Vex Thul arrived with 2 guards, took one look at the scene, and pulled Zilax aside. Sir, I've reviewed the night cycle footage. She accessed engineering systems, biological containment protocols, and environmental controls, all without triggering a single security flag. How? I don't know. But Commander, watch this. Vex Thul pulled up footage on his pad. The recording showed Emma approaching a bot, talking to it while she worked. Okay, buddy, here's the deal. Cubs are basically toddlers, right? So you need to be exciting but safe. Fast enough to be fun, slow enough not to scare them. She's conversing with non-sentient machinery, Kaldra whispered. On screen, the bot's lights flickered in a pattern that looked almost like acknowledgement. Zilax watched a cub on the live feed make a chirping sound. The bot it was riding immediately slowed down and lowered itself slightly. The bot just responded to a fatigue indicator, Kaldra's scanner confirmed. It recognized the cub needed rest. Emma smiled. See? They're good toys. These aren't toys, Arhill said faintly. These are adaptive care systems that shouldn't be possible with our current technology. Senior xenobiologist Vexia arrived 6 hours later via emergency transport, her reputation preceding her like a shockwave. She'd written the Galactic Council's conservation protocols. She'd saved 4 species from extinction. She did not tolerate protocol violations. Zilax met her at the docking bay. Director Vexia, I apologize for the... Show me. Her tone allowed no argument. They found Emma in Section 7, sitting on the floor while a cub napped in her lap. The other cubs were engaged with the bots in what looked like an elaborate game involving hiding behind enrichment structures. Vexia watched in silence for 3 full minutes. Then she pulled out her analysis tablet and began reviewing data. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Director? Zilax ventured. These health metrics. Vexia's voice was strange. They're better than any point in captivity, better than wild baseline in some categories. Yes, but the unauthorized. She's solved the socialization problem. Vexia scrolled faster. The activity depression issue, the cognitive stimulation deficit. Her tablet nearly slipped from her grasp. How? Emma looked up. I made playtime interesting? Interesting. Vexia approached, her analytical gaze fixed on Emma. Human, what is your training in xenobiological development? None. I'm a wildlife handler. I worked at a zoo back on Earth, and my sister runs a daycare, so I've picked up some stuff about... You applied child development psychology to an alien species? Vexia's crest was fully raised. That's not even remotely within standard protocols. Well, yeah, but cubs are cubs, right? They need stimulation, social interaction, play. My nephew's like 3, and if he doesn't get enough activity, he gets cranky and stops eating properly. These little guys were showing the same signs. Kaldra pulled up comparative data. Director, I've been monitoring their development since the humans' intervention. Their learning metrics have increased by 340%. Social bonding behaviors we thought lost in captivity are emerging naturally. Vexia turned to Arhill. The modifications, explain them. Arhill's chromatophores showed deep confusion colors. She's created adaptive systems that incorporate obstacle course navigation, pursuit protocols that mimic hunting behavior, and object retrieval subroutines. The bots adjust difficulty based on individual cub development stages. Obstacle courses, Vexia repeated. Pursuit protocols. Hide and seek and fetch, Emma translated. Basic playground stuff. Playground? Vexia's translator added a note indicating the word had no direct equivalent in galactic standard. Define this term. You know, where kids play? Slides, climbing structures, games? Emma trailed off at Vexia's expression. You don't have playgrounds? We have structured development protocols, controlled environmental enrichment, measured stimulus introduction. Right, but do you have fun? Vexia's tablet beeped. She glanced at it, and every chromatophore on her body went pale. Commander, I need a secure channel to the Council. Now. 10 minutes later, Zilak stood behind Vexia as she addressed the emergency council session via holographic link, reviewing the data from all 12 breeding stations. Vexia was saying, "The pattern is clear. Success rates have been declining for 8 cycles across the network. We attributed it to genetic factors, environmental variables, stress from captivity. And now?" Councilmember Jotaro's projection leaned forward. Station 7, the Earth Partnership Station, has success metrics 600% above network average. The cubs are thriving, and it's because of one factor we never considered. Which is? Vexia gestured to her tablet. The human concept of play. We've been treating conservation breeding as a purely biological process. Sterile environments, minimal interaction, controlled stimulation. We've been so focused on survival that we forgot about living. The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Director, are you suggesting our protocols are fundamentally flawed? I'm not suggesting it. I'm confirming it. Vexia pulled up comparison data. Look at these charts. Every station following standard protocols is experiencing declining health markers, reduced breeding success, developmental delays. The Earth Station, where a human with no formal xenobiological training treated endangered aliens like her nephew's daycare, is the only one showing improvement. A daycare? Jotaro looked horrified. Emma waved from the background. Hi. Yeah, so I basically just asked myself what would keep a 3-year-old happy and healthy and went from there. She created cross-species enrichment protocols that our entire scientific establishment declared theoretically impossible. Vexia said quietly. She solved problems we've spent decades failing to address, because she approached it from a paradigm we don't have. What paradigm? The concept that young creatures, regardless of species, need to play. Not just survive. Not just be stimulated. They need joy, challenge, social interaction through entertainment. We don't have a word for this in our conservation models. One of the cubs chose that moment to leap onto a bot, chirping excitedly as it began a new course. That, Vexia said, pointing. That's what we've been missing. Council Representative Jotaro arrived in person 2 days later. He was old enough to have approved the original conservation protocols 40 cycles ago. And his bearing suggested he didn't appreciate having his life's work questioned by a human with no formal training. Emma met him in Section 7, with a cub tucked under one arm, like a football. Representative Jotaro. She shifted the cub slightly. Sorry, can't shake hands. This one gets fussy if I put her down during nap time. Jotaro's facial ridges tightened. I'm here to review your modifications. Sure. Want the full tour? Emma set the drowsy cub in a nest of blankets she'd apparently added to the corner, another unauthorized modification, and pulled out her datapad. Okay, so I've got the bots programmed for different developmental stages. The younger cubs get simpler chase games, nothing too fast. As they grow, we introduce obstacle navigation, build spatial awareness and physical confidence. She tapped her pad. 3 bots immediately began arranging themselves into a tunnel formation. Then we've got pursuit and retreat patterns, teaches them hunting basics without actual prey, and my personal favorite, the retrieval games. A bot picked up a soft cube and deposited it near a cub, who immediately grabbed it and brought it back. Teaches cooperation, builds positive associations with achievement. This is... Jotaro watched a cub successfully navigate a course the bot had created, then saw the bot's lights flash in what looked almost like celebration. These machines are responding emotionally. Well, not really. But the cubs think they are. which is what matters. Emma grinned. Kids need positive reinforcement. Doesn't matter if you're human or Crithian. When you succeed at something and someone notices, it feels good. Someone notices, Jotaro repeated slowly. You're describing social feedback mechanisms. I'm describing playing with kids, yeah. Vexia stepped forward with her tablet. Representative. In human developmental theory, childhood is understood as a distinct life phase with specific psychological and social needs. Physical survival is necessary, but insufficient. Young creatures require play, exploration, and safe failure to develop properly. Safe failure? Jotaro looked disturbed. Emma shrugged. They need to mess up sometimes. Fall off the bot, lose the chase game, take the wrong turn in the obstacle course. That's how they learn. If everything's perfectly controlled and sterile, they never develop problem-solving skills. On cue, a cub misjudged a jump and tumbled. Emma didn't move. The cub chirped indignantly, shook itself off, and immediately tried again, successfully this time. You let it fail, Jotaro said. I let it learn, Emma corrected. Big difference. Kaeldra had been watching quietly from the corner. Now she approached one of the bots, studying how it adjusted its speed when a smaller cub approached. In medical training, we learn to treat symptoms, maintain health, prevent disease. But this... She gestured at the cubs, who were now working together to corner a bot. This is something else. This is nurturing. My sister explained it to me once, Emma said softly. She said kids don't just need their bodies taken care of. They need their spirits fed too. They need to feel curious, challenged, successful, connected. They need to play. She looked at the alien scientists. You guys have been so focused on keeping them alive that you forgot they needed reasons to want to live. The words hung in the air. Jotaro pulled up records on his own tablet. 40 cycles of breeding programs, declining success across all stations. We've had the genetics right for decades, the nutrition optimized, environmental variables controlled. His voice cracked slightly. We've been treating them like living databases. Input the correct variables, extract the desired outcome. They're kids, Emma said simply, not equations. Representative. Vexia's voice was formal but gentle. The human has solved our 40-cycle crisis in 4 days. Because she understood something we didn't. Childhood is universal. The need for play, for joy, for growth through experience. It transcends species. Jotaro watched a cub perform a complex maneuver the xenobiology teams had declared extinct in captivity. A multi-directional pounce that required spatial calculation and physical coordination far beyond what any captive cub had demonstrated. The cub learned that from the games? 3 days ago, Kaeldra confirmed. The retrieval exercises build the neural pathways. The pursuit games develop the reflexes. The obstacle courses create the spatial awareness. And the positive reinforcement from the bots, from achieving goals, gives them the confidence to try behaviors we thought they'd lost. Zilax had been reviewing protocols on his command tablet. Now he looked up. Representative, I formally request that Emma Johnson be authorized to redesign our entire station conservation protocol, and that her methods be distributed network-wide. The council will need to review. Jotaro stopped himself. He looked at the cubs, healthy, active, displaying complex behaviors. He looked at Emma, who was now being climbed on by 2 cubs, while she laughed and tried to keep her balance. Emergency protocols are canceled, Jotaro said quietly. Miss Johnson, You're authorized to implement your playground systems across all 12 stations. The Council will ratify this formally, but we're done losing cubs to our own ignorance. Emma beamed. Awesome. Fair warning, though. The Vraxian pups at Station 3 are going to need different protocols. I've been reading their files, and I'm thinking maybe water play games? They're semi-aquatic, right? Jotaro's facial ridges relaxed into what might have been a smile. You've been planning for other species already? Well, yeah. Kids are kids. Doesn't matter how many legs they have. 3 weeks later, Emma sat cross-legged in what the station directory now listed as Enrichment Playground 7A. The term containment facility had been quietly removed from all official documentation. Okay, Station 3, can you see the setup? Emma adjusted her holoconference camera to show the water-compatible bots she'd modified. So, for semi-aquatic species, you want the buoyancy stabilizers recalibrated. I'll send you the code, but basically, you're creating floating playmates instead of rolling ones. The handler on Station 3, a Valerian named Six Kara, nodded frantically, taking notes. And the prey simulation protocols? Same principle as the Crithian chase games, just adapted for underwater pursuit. Think of it like, how do I explain tag to someone who doesn't know what tag is? Emma laughed. Okay, imagine. A cub headbutted her arm, demanding attention. Emma absently scratched behind its auditory ridge while continuing to explain hydrodynamic movement patterns to handlers on 3 different stations. Zilax paused in the doorway, watching. In 3 weeks, the human had transformed not just Section 7, but the entire network's approach to conservation. The Johnson protocols were now being implemented across all 12 stations, with breeding success rates climbing for the first time in 8 cycles. The galactic wildlife management community was in philosophical upheaval. Academic papers were being retracted. Textbooks were being rewritten. Entire departments were attending emergency seminars on something called enrichment theory and developmental play psychology. And Emma was teaching it all from a floor covered in napping cubs, speaking around mouthfuls of her lunch. So, yeah, if the hatchlings are showing stress behaviors, try the gentle rocking motion first. It's soothing for most species. My sister uses the same technique at her daycare. Emma waved a hand. Oh, Station 9. Before I forget, those dietary supplements you asked about? Ditch them. The cubs need variety, not optimization. I'll send you a feeding schedule that's less scientifically balanced and more actually interesting to eat. Kaeldra appeared beside Zilax, medical scanner in hand. Commander, all 6 cubs are showing developmental progress ahead of wild baseline projections. 2 are ready for advanced social protocols, which Emma designed last Tuesday between modifying bots for Station 4 and arguing with the Council about eliminating sterile field requirements. She's remarkable. Kaeldra watched Emma demonstrate a complex enrichment sequence to a rapt audience of handlers across the network. She doesn't even realize she's revolutionizing xenobiology. To her, this is just work. The holoconference wrapped up. Emma stretched, carefully avoiding the 3 cubs now using her as a collective pillow. Okay, guys, nap time's almost over. Who wants to test the new intermediate obstacle course? Her personal comm chimed. Jotaro's icon appeared. Miss Johnson, the Council has convened. Oh no, what did I break now? Emma grinned. Nothing. We're offering you a position as Galactic Director of Wildlife Conservation, full Council authority, unlimited resources, your choice of stations. Emma laughed so hard she startled one of the cubs. Yeah, no. I'm good. Jotaro's facial ridges rose. You're refusing? I like what I do here. The cubs need me. Station 3's Vraxian pups look bored out of their minds, and we've got those Thalaxian hatchlings arriving next month. Emma paused. But I could use more cleaning bots. Like, a lot more. If I'm gonna retrofit protocols for 12 stations worth of species, I need better equipment. The council will provide whatever. Cool. Send me 300 bots, mixed models. Oh, and I need to call my sister about some behavioral stuff for the hatchlings. She's got this technique for separation anxiety that might work across species. Emma was already pulling up her datapad, scrolling through messages. Thanks for the job offer, though. Really flattering. She disconnected. Zilax stared. She just refused a council position to keep playing with cubs. No, Kyldra corrected softly. She refused a council position to keep doing what she's always done. She doesn't see herself as revolutionary. She's a handler who made some toys. In the playground, Emma was jury-rigging a new bot, humming something under her breath, a human lullaby, translation software noted, while 2 cubs supervised her work and a third napped against her knee. "Hey, Commander," Emma called out without looking up. Do Thalaxian hatchlings imprint on primary caregivers? Because my sister says that's a thing with Earth ducklings, and if it translates cross-species, we need to adjust the introduction protocols. She said it casually, like she wasn't casually rewriting another fundamental assumption of xenobiological development. I'll check the literature, Zilax managed. Cool. Also, these new bots are going to need pattern recognition upgrades. I'm thinking the hatchlings will respond better to color-based games than movement-based ones. Emma tested a servo, nodded to herself. This is going to be fun. She went back to humming, surrounded by sleeping cubs, simultaneously revolutionizing an entire scientific field and treating it exactly like what it was to her. Just another day at daycare. Somewhere in the station's database, a new file automatically generated. Johnson Protocol Extensions, Cross-Species Play Theory, and Practical Applications. Emma would probably never read it. She was too busy wondering if hatchlings liked peekaboo.